Hello to my listeners, this is Valerie, Guillaume. Welcome to another one of my videos. This video is going to be a very brief video, and it's a follow-up from the video that I made just a few days ago talking about what it's like to be a targeted individual living in Canada as a blogger. Well, I'm going to do a follow-up in this video, but I'm going to be exposing some Canadian government officials and the conspiracy that's involved in abusing my human rights, but not just in abusing my human rights, also in causing me harm. So there's going to be a number of things that I'm going to be reporting on, and it's going to shock a lot of people in regards to the level of corruption and how far these individuals think that they can go as far as abusing the position that has been entrusted to them by the public. The first person that I want to expose is a member of the Landlord and Tenant Board by the name of Sylvia Watson. And she's an adjudicator there. And I want to expose her corruption involving me currently. This member has had on her desk since last week my application, my T2 application, which is a tenant's application, as well as another document to shorten the time for the hearing, because I was forced out of my home, and so I had to file an urgent application on the 27th of March, along with the other form to request to shorten the hearing. Now, this member has had her documents on her desk since that time. She made no decision. I just learned today on April 5th that the form that goes along with the document to shorten time, request to shorten or lengthen time, but in this case to shorten the time so that the hearing can be sooner, has not been included. So they uploaded the T2 application on their system, but there's no indication that they did that with the request to shorten time. Now, I gave both forms on the 30th to a customer service representative by the name of Bilal, B-I-L-A-L. On that same day, I also filed a complaint against him in regards to his manner and his actions towards me. Very disrespectful, his gestures, his words, everything. Before I left that office, I had to file a complaint against him and left that document for his supervisor to look into that. So it's not a stretch of the imagination that this guy or the member or whoever it is conveniently remove the form request to shorten the hearing, the time for the hearing. And so now I'm waiting, still waiting for the matter to go back before Sylvia Watson, because she could have done that. She could have set another hearing date. The matter was before her on March 30th. And what happened is I did not have enough time to cross-examine the witness. And so she knew that the matter, she agreed for the matter to be adjourned. But she could have done that at the hearing. She told me, go back up to the front desk and you can request another hearing date then, which is what I did. But along with requesting another hearing date, I also filled the necessary form out so that the hearing would be sooner. She knew that I had been forced out on the street and that the hearing was about the legalities around that as far as a tenant, because really only the Landlord and Tenant Board can evict you as a tenant. And so technically, legally, under the Residential Tenancies Act, I'm still a tenant. So I wanted to know what she was going to do. Was she going to allow me to go back into my home, or what is she going to do? Because right now, the longer that I'm out of my home, the more harm is being done to me. So this member has sat on this application, made no decision about it. I called into the Landlord and Tenant Board this morning to find out the status of it. I'm told no decision has been made on the application by Sylvia Watson, and that on top of that, the request to shorten the hearing time has been removed. I was told on March 31st, when I went back to the Landlord and Tenant Board just to follow up on what's going on, that the member, Sylvia Watson, has a document on her desk. So as of today, April 5th, she still has the document on her desk, sitting down, when this member knows fully well that the tenant is in an urgent situation, has been forced out of her home, and is waiting for her to make a decision on the matter and allow another hearing date so that the tenant can continue to cross-examine the witness and for the hearing to continue, and she's made no decision about that. Tell me if that is not corruption, and tell me if that is not trying to harm someone. So you can see the conspiracy that's involved. Each day that I'm out of my home, it is costing me a lot of money. Fortunately for me, I got some assistance from an agency, which is the Red Cross. They're assisting me as far as accommodation right now. But the Canadian government, because the Red Cross is a charitable organization, it's independent of the Canadian government. And the Canadian government officials who are involved in this conspiracy to force me out of my home, to destabilize me, they have not done a thing. They're working hard to keep the situation that way. Yesterday I was on the phone with the Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Orton. And the reason for that is because the ICHR, the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, as well as the Organization for American States, which has jurisdiction against Canada, over Canada, because Canada being a member of North America, and that's the governing body for this region as far as human rights. So I contacted Congresswoman Orton yesterday to get some assistance from them, because the ICHR has not done anything in regards to my urgent petition that was filed in October to assist me in protecting my human rights. I did speak with that office yesterday, and I was told that they are going to assist me in this matter, and that I should get release the document to them ASAP for them to work on my behalf, like send my permission in. And I'm going to be doing that this morning, because this government cannot be violating my rights and causing me harm in front of the whole freaking world, and something is not done about it. These government officials cannot be engaged in this type of behavior with their racism and their intention to destroy another human being and just simply get away with their actions. In this day and age, this should not be happening. So I also want to talk about an article, or a couple of articles I wrote last week involving the Toronto Fire Services. And I want to expose the Deputy Chief, Jim Jessup, the Acting Captain, the Acting Fire Chief, Matt Peck, Captain Rob Patton, Captain Paul Fortuna, and District Chief Wendy Rome. Now, these people have been investigating a rooming house in North York, and what they have done is they have reduced the number of tenants from 12 tenants to 9 tenants. And that's just one of the things that they've done, just so that they did not have to close the rooming house down. I recently also put out on my blog another article that was coming from CP24, which is another local media, which talks about a firefighter who was robbing people and who was charged by the Toronto police. So you can see how much corruption is involved at the local level of government in Canada. Most people think of the fire services as there to assist people and to help save lives, not to help to destroy lives. Because if you're going to continue as a deputy fire chief to allow residents to be exposed to danger from a fire by saying there isn't that amount of residents at that location, so the risk has been lowered when there actually is, then you're not only corrupt as a deputy fire chief, you're directly contributing to the danger of the lives of these people. So my job is to publicly shame this deputy fire chief, Jim Jessup, and to shame him in front of the whole world. But also, I want to see these people removed from their positions because they are corrupt. They're absolutely corrupt. And a lot of time they forget that it's the public that puts them in that job, and they're answerable to the public. But when they're endangering the lives of people, then they need to go before a court and answer for their actions because it's criminal. It's not just breach of public trust, but it also falls under several other categories under the criminal code, the Canadian Criminal Code. So please send in your comments about this Landlord and Tenant board member, Sylvia Watson. She used to be a solicitor for the city of Toronto, and so her background, she was a lawyer, but she's corrupt. How could you have a board member who knows that a tenant is in a dire situation and has her application on her desk for a week and not act upon it? That is causing further harm to the tenant. So the kind of persecution that I'm going through is obvious to anyone who can see it. There's been a long, long paper trail. And so my job is to expose more of what these people are doing to me. As I said, this is a very brief video. I'm not going to go into length. As I said in my previous video, which I posted on April 2nd, this is not the day to go into the specifics of targeted individuals, because first of all, most people don't even believe in what the targeted individual is saying, because you have to understand it's a secret program that's being carried out against targeted individual by various governments, whether it's the Canadian government, US government, because this is happening all over the world. So that's another topic in and of itself. But what I had to say in this video today is also related to that. But this video is not dedicated to that subject matter today, to that topic. I mainly wanted to expose Sylvia Watson, and I'm going to post this video on my blog today. I also filed a complaint against her with the vice chair of the board last week because her demeanor, her actions is just not acceptable. I also had people come to me last week with more complaints about her. In one situation, She was also adjudicating, involving a father of 3. And this guy was asking her to allow him to remain in his home until June, because he would have to then remove his children from out of school. And this woman would not do that. And he was begging her, please let me stay until June, because it's going to disrupt the lives of my children if I remove them out of school. I'm just asking for 3 more months to be in the place. And Sylvia Watson would not allow this father of 3 to stay there. So think about that situation, and this situation where I mentioned where she knew the tenant is out on the street, and she sat on the application, her T2 application, where she's filed an urgent request to get back into her home, or to have the board deal with the matter, to make the landlord responsible for this tenant being out on the street. And also, the request form to go along with that has been missing. It's been missing from my documents. So who is doing that? Because obviously whoever did that knows that it is causing further delay, it's causing further harm to the tenant, to me. So I wish to see this corrupt member, Sylvia Watson, removed from her position, because she's not acting in the best interest of the public. She should not be adjudicating in regards to the tenants at the Landlord and Tenant Board, because she's corrupt. She's acted corruptly in my case, and she's also acted corruptly in other cases as well. This is Valerie Guillaume reporting for my blog, Canada Human Rights Abuse Exposed. And I would love to hear from you, my listeners. So please send me in your comments. And anyone else who want to assist